Nobody in the stream.
No.
There we are.
All right.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mad Mamluks podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, Sheikh Amir Saeed and my man Maheen and Mort from Buffalo, New York.
The Buffalo Soldier.
Yeah, marhaba.
Help us out on patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. Every little bit helps and goes a long way. And make sure you click on like and subscribe on the episode description. Sorry, not on the episode description, on the actual episode. Thank you all for joining us. We've had like 3 weeks off, gentlemen. I hope you guys are all sorted out.
Well, the reason is I thought like podcasts that were recognized by other Muslim outlets got credit for doing nothing for months. Right?
That's true.
And so we were like, you know what? Maybe we should like take some time off because some people think the number one podcast in the Muslim sphere is a show that hasn't created content since like June or July.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm gonna say this right now. Hold on, I was gonna say, I was just gonna start waving my hand. I'm like, hey, dude, I've been busy doing some things, so I've been moving around. But I promise you guys, I got a new Patreon subscriber, and I totally forgot to message him. But I've been so busy because I'm trying to move back to Chicago. Because but I gotta do it like I gotta get things done because I gotta go back and forth. So I gotta do half of the packing now and then get out. So and that's why I'm not using my main camera. I'm using this HD CS C9, whatever the hell the camera is. Anyways, so that's why. But I will be more regular. I promise.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone needs
a break. You guys.
We've been working semi-hard. We never work totally hard on this stuff, but we work semi-hard. Kind of like
we're trying, man. We're trying. Come on. Leave Sim alone. Remember that Leave Britney thing? Leave Britney alone. Remember that? That Chris Crocker thing. By
the way,
I don't know. He keeps chiming in. I don't know. Maybe
or it's like some imposter.
I don't know, but hey, so look,
you think South Khadri is supposed to like reply back and saying that no, it's me, I'm the sheikh, the big time guy. Like, what are you expecting to respond with?
No, I think you gotta you know what we have to do, Sim? We've got to create a code word for every famous person, email to them. So when they come in, they give a code word, so we know it's them.
But you know what? This is so confusing for people who are listening to the podcast on the audio only. They're like, what are they talking about? Like Saad Khadri jumped in. So
I got a question. Okay,
let's just clarify.
Saad Khadri, like, what relation does the city College Station, Texas, have to you?
We're just gonna wait for his reply.
Okay, well, let's just put the podcast on pause and just wait for Saad to reply.
We'll wait. We're eagerly waiting now because of Maheen.
He doesn't respond. He's an imposter.
What if he
10 seconds?
What if he exited the chat already?
Then why? Why would you just jump on and like? You need to stay on for the whole.
Maybe he thought we were lame and he just left.
It helps our algorithm. They stay on the whole time. But yeah, so more. I was going to ask you, where you been? Like, how come your content like dried up?
Because I've been busy trying to move and stuff, bro. And I've been doing packing up, and I've come between here and there, and I got some family stuff going on. I mean, my dad was kind of sick a little bit here and there, so I had to kind of deal with some things over there. But no, he's actually still in the hospital right now. So inshallah, it gets better. I mean,
it's the real Saad Qadri.
Oh, very nice. Oh, okay. Well,
nice.
Mashallah.
Okay.
Welcome. Yeah, oh, Maliki Click. Welcome. I love my friend Maliki Click. He's here.
Is everything fine now with your dad? I mean, is he recovering well or?
Yeah. I mean, they get old. There's some things going on, so he's in rehab right now. But inshallah, it'll be fine. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I got stuff, and plus the move and stuff. So things happen, man. Life hits you, man. I'm a one-man team, bro. So
hey,
but inshallah, I'll be back.
Bro. Me and Maheen come to Buffalo and help you out.
No, I'd rather you stay there, bro. No, but look, on a real note though, man, it's been a crazy week in America. It's been so crazy, bro. And I know, and look, I think I just want to get this out the air because everyone's probably gonna ask me. I think they're probably wondering in the audience, like, hey, what do you guys think about the whole insurrection and Donald Trump and January 20th. Look, I told you guys, man. I told you it'll be a little rumble, a little thing here and there. A couple thousand people get out of hand, and after it'll be done. It'll be gone, right? And I'm January 20th. Biden will be, like him or hate him. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but he'll be the new president. It is what it is, right? I mean, they tried so many things to do over and over again. Not one court case could be won out of 60 cases. Not no Supreme Court. I mean, Republicans turned on him. Pence is turning on him. Lindsey Graham. You name
what
it.
If you know Biden's super old? What if he like passes away in his sleep?
Kamala Harris.
No,
Indian.
No, you can't. That's not how it works. So I actually looked this up. Kamala Harris doesn't take over. The Democratic convention has to take place or something.
You mean before he gets to office?
Yeah, before he's sworn in.
Oh, yeah.
So the Democratic Party would have to choose another candidate that would fill that spot.
Yeah,
so that was pretty interesting finding out because Joe Biden's 82, 84. That's not out
78.
No, 78.
82 next time when he has to run for re-election.
Oh yeah. Next time,
Man.
He's pretty up there, right? He's way past the average, the median.
It could be like
the numbers are against him.
It's like because he could there was one U.S. president who caught pneumonia during the inauguration speech and died a month later.
Yes, was it Taft? Who was that?
William Henry Harrison?
Yeah, no, it was really early on, right? It was like in the first. Yeah, like the first 6th or 7th president. It was really early on where he died. I think he was president for he got elected, and within I think the day of his inauguration, the morning he died.
Yeah. Before
he got to get inaugurated, he had some flu or pneumonia. Apparently, the guy liked to ride horses or whatever, or go out and he wanted to look tough being out there, right? Like without. Oh no. Yeah, that's a different president. There was a president that was in office for like a few months because he in the inauguration day he wanted to look tough, so he didn't wear a jacket, and he went out in the middle of winter time, and he got pneumonia, and he died 6 months or 4 months later. I don't know if the name. We can look it up. I forgot his name.
Dang. That's what I just told you.
Dang.
Yeah,
talking about the same person.
Yeah, Mort just repeated what I said.
No, but you said it was before the inauguration, right? He's saying this is after inauguration.
At inauguration. He got pneumonia at inauguration and died a month later.
Right. But I mean, I think Sim was talking about somebody who died before inauguration.
No, I don't know if anyone died before inauguration.
I was proposing or hypothesizing happening to Biden, that he dies before the inauguration, and what would take place? Would Trump actually be the winner, or would Kamala Harris take over? But then
that's crazy.
So here's the crazy thing. While the Democratic caucus takes place, the Speaker of the House becomes the president, the acting president, because she's the next in line. So Pelosi would be like the queen bee, essentially.
Bee. Bro.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
They took her gavel too. They took the goods from her.
Dude, you know, I think it's totally funny, bro. We'll get to that question. Thank you very much, Bill. We appreciate that $5 you gave us. It means the world to us. We each get $1. Thank you very much. No, I'm just kidding, but thank you. Appreciate your support. No, but what I mean is that here's the thing, though. Did you see that picture of that guy who was bare chested and he had he had a Davy Crockett hat on? Dude, that guy is a nobody, and he got so famous. He done every single
bro. Can you imagine? Well, let's just say he served some time, right? Maybe he serves a year to 5 years, right? But he's in effect a millionaire. If he markets himself right, he's gonna be wealthy for the rest of his life because he pulled it off the stunt. He made himself, How
you gonna market yourself though? That's the thing,
dude. You have
blocked from everything.
You have 70 million Trump supporters behind you around the country who will support you.
He's got warrior blood.
I want to get more. I want to take your take on this, right? So I've been following. This guy Ali Alexander, right?
Yeah,
this half Indian, half black dude, who's the head of this Stop the Steal movement. And I was listening to a couple of podcasts he did in the last couple of months, interviews he did. I was like, these dudes legitimately think that this election is the worst thing to happen in human history. I'm serious. I was and I'm listening to them talk, and they make it sound like it's and I'm in this Telegram group with a bunch of right wingers too. And these guys are they feel like the world is ending. Some of them talking about we're gonna be enslaved next. All this stuff, it's gonna be, we're gonna go into concentration camps. I mean, I don't know if they they really believe it or they're just on some crack or what.
Here's what.
Well, this is the cult of Trumpism, right? So what's happening is that Trump painted the picture that either you're if you're not with me, then you're with socialism, and you're with like the with like the people that want to make America a communist socialist country. So effectively, he's saying if you don't vote for me, everything is done. Like the America that we knew, and here's the thing: this is built off of not only just politics, bro. There's two elements to this. Okay, I followed this very closely. By the way, I'm on Parler and I'm loving it, dude. I'm getting tweets from like Pence and like all these. It's great, man. These guys, I'm trolling them. So, anyways, but look, so the thing is that there's an evangelical right, and then there's this totally QAnon conspiratorial nut job group, right? The evangelical right believes that Trump is Jesus. Like they've traded Jesus for Trump. Like that's, Donald Jesus Trump is his name. Okay. All hail Jesus Trump. But then there's the other time that QAnon, where they believe that Trump is bringing down pedophile rings. And like, he's playing 5D chess, and like, he's above everybody, and he's going to lay down the smackdown. They believe he got a red envelope from DNI Ratcliffe, and he's going to nail all, the Bidens and the Clintons and the Obama, he's gonna nail them all just before flip the script. Like they really believe that he is gonna be there no matter what. Like he is the chosen one. Like they believe that Donald Trump has altered and shaken up the deep state. But now that he has effectively in this position now, they believe that he's probably gonna die. Because they're like, oh, the deep state can't handle anymore. Even Republicans are chanting him. They're all losers. They're all in on this. It's just Donald Trump versus the whole swamp. You get my point?
Mm.
So they are, yeah.
Aren't you at all troubled by this whole banning thing of Donald Trump? That not just Trump, but in effect, he's just the tip of the iceberg. I think many people who Twitter just deems that, hey, these people are contributing to quote unquote insurrection or causing violence with their words, even though, like, let's just say their tweet doesn't actually contribute to violence, but because some people may take some words and use their imagination and add to those words and do things that are not let's just say peaceful. How is that acceptable that these social media companies are just shutting down discourse from a certain perspective? Not that we even agree with Trump or anything, but do you think it's okay that Twitter just shuts down people that they disagree with? Because people who need to understand, Twitter, YouTube, Google, all these companies are very, very leftist oriented thinking. They're going to be always thinking about what benefits the left and the Democrats, right? They're not everyone who's given blue check marks on Twitter, right? It's always the leftists who get it first. Like you need to be an incredible superstar if you're religious or if you're conservative. You need to have quite a bit of a following before you get that blue check mark on Twitter. But if you're leftist, you could have just a handful of thousand, maybe 5,000 followers, and if you're in the good graces of Twitter, and people in that organization see that you are an ally, you will get that blue check mark very quickly. That blue check mark is very coveted on Twitter. Anybody who gets that blue check mark.
Yeah, so Ahmad Ali's got the blue check mark.
Yeah. Bro, everyone who's leftist oriented, how come Ismail Royer doesn't have a freaking blue check mark, man? Ismail Royer should Dr. Shadi should have a blue check mark. He doesn't have a blue check mark.
I should have a blue check mark.
Joe Bradford doesn't have a blue check mark. All these people, they on Twitter, they give blue check marks to the leftist Muslims, people that are more closely in line with their way of thinking. They get those check marks first because they're in line with the liberal project.
So let's break it down like this, bro.
Gilly's got a blue check mark.
Well,
he's media. Yeah, he's media. No, but look,
four different Middle Eastern newspaper channels.
Yeah. So look, this is what I'm going to say. Okay, look. Do I agree with shutting down people's conversations? No. But at the end of the day, Twitter is a private platform. They have the right to determine who they want on the platform, who they don't want. And I think in this sensitive time, we know, and I think you have to understand something. What most people don't realize is that PSYOPs is a real thing. Okay. And one of the biggest things that we find out from the from the Robert Mueller report and from the whole Russia investigation and Cambridge Analytica is that PSYOPs is severely, it's under the radar. What that means is that they're not actually telling you how to vote. They're not doing election fraud by changing voting systems, and they're not doing that. What they're doing is they're effectively using social media, and they're creating tweets and information and using characters to effectively train your mind to think a certain way, and then create social bubbles and say, listen, if you believe this, if you believe that, then you like this will be suggested for you, that will be suggested for you, and they end up falling into this this entire downward spiral with all this information. So why is it important? Because when you have a president now, it's not just about a view anymore. It's a president trying to deny that an election is done. Like, it's been certified. People are coming out. His own party is coming out. Like, it's just undeniable that he's lost the election, but yet he is continuing to, create this environment where people don't want to accept that. And that is, I feel at some point you have to be responsible and say, listen, you can't continue this. People are going to get hurt, right? People are going to, people are easy to mislead. And if you're going to allow propaganda to allow the people to now take the next level, I think there has to be some, intervention at some point where you say, listen, you lost, you got a big following, but just because you have a big following, you're using our platform now to effectively communicate to millions of people that you're not accepting this election, when in fact, federally and legally, it's been adjudicated that you've lost this election, right? Even by the courts, you've lost this election, right? So you can't just now manipulate people using our platform. And I think they have the right to say that. When it's a greater harm, we have that principle even in Islam, right? If there's a greater harm to the community, we can cut it off, right? And I think essentially that's what he's doing. He's like inciting people to not accept the will of the majority, or people that voted, or even the will of the courts, or whatever it may be, the whole process, right? And I think it's an important thing to say. But I will say this much though, and I'll let you speak on this for a moment. I think what will end up happening is if Twitter and Facebook extend their bounds, right, and they begin to do this, all the time to just right-wing people or religious people, what do you think is going to happen? This is one of the benefits of capitalism. Some other company will come out and they will make an open platform like Parler, and people will just jump ship and say, listen, that place is better, right? It may take some more time, right? It may take a time to catch on, of course, but eventually it'll serve the needs of the people that want to use it. And if their needs are met, they'll leave Twitter. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's part of the process.
But now on Parler, so I was able to download it on Apple a couple days ago.
Talk a little bit about what Parler is, because I think a lot of people don't understand.
Okay, so when Twitter started banning people, there's many groups, and this is the Parler app. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, we can. Let it focus. Let it focus. Oh, bro. Oh, you forgot to shut down your windows, bro. Turn that on.
What? That's Trump.
I'm just messing.
Who's this? Oh, I told you my whole feed is all conservatism. I told you. So I'm following this stuff and I want to know what's going on. But basically, everyone that got kicked off and silenced on Twitter who is right wing is on Parler. So you have Sean Hannity, you've got Mark Levine, you've got Donald Trump, you've got the Trump team, Donald Trump Jr. So you get to see. So essentially, what they're doing is they're trying to make an exodus, just like when people, for example, the right wing used to love Fox News, right? Now the right wing is making a huge exodus to what? OANN and Newsmax, right? They're considering potentially, maybe they're saying Donald Trump might even buy Newsmax later on, whatever, but they're finding alternative news sources and likewise alternative social media platforms. And that's what Parler is, among many.
Well, here's the thing. Parler has now been shut down by Google. Now, not shut down, like they can't shut down the company, right? What they do is they remove it or delist it from their marketplace. Google has their marketplace called the Play Store, right? Apple has their what's it called? The Apple
iTunes. Apple App Store.
Yeah. So these marketplaces are owned by these major conglomerates in effect, right? Google is a conglomerate now. They're owning YouTube and a whole bunch of different companies that are now nested under their organization. Once you're canceled from one of these companies, you're in effect irrelevant. You don't exist on the world. And what do you think is going to happen as these influencers, people who are involved in discourse, start getting canceled and they start not having a place to challenge their ideas? They're going to go to other places like QAnon. They're going to go to other decentralized places that will create a home for them, and they're going to have a much more difficult place to actually track. I think when you have people who are violent or people you should be concerned about, you should encourage them to be centralized into an area so you actually have a way to manage these people and keep track of them. But when you have them go out into the dark web and they're all on VPNs and stuff, they become very difficult. It's not impossible. Nothing's impossible in IT. It just takes a lot more resources and manpower to find out who these people are, and whoever's planning acts of violence, insurrection, sedition, whatever you want to call it, they're going to be very difficult to find. And I think Twitter, Google, they're all just shooting themselves in the foot. What they could have done is mandate Twitter followers or registration to have a valid driver's license or a valid ID card, so that everyone who is registering with a Twitter or Facebook account or Google account has a way to be tracked, so that you can't just mouth your mouth off and disappear off in the dark web. You have tangible ways to be tracked, and you can't just hide under anonymity. The whole idea of, because the Twitter, Facebook, this whole space is, the analogy is made to the town square in legal matters. Like when you want to try to manage the town square for thousands of years, people have always just mouthed their mouths off in town square. People had discussions, arguments, fights, exchanges, buying and selling happened in town squares. Everything would happen, right? But it happened under the pretense of identity. Everyone knew who each other was. But here in this world, the Twitter, Facebook, Google world, we have no idea who these people are. So in order for Google, Facebook, and everyone to keep track of this stuff, they need to mandate or require people to establish identity. And I think that's the only way you actually instill responsibility when people are saying what they want to say. Because right now, anyone can say whatever they want.
I mean, anonymity is a problem on the internet, regardless of how. I mean, it's not even just on Twitter. It becomes hard when you have that space. But then we get into the whole lines of the right to privacy, things like that, right? People start worrying about that, right? But I will say this much. In support of what Sim is saying is that, well, these are private platforms and they have the right to govern them the way they want to, meaning that as long as it's not illegal, if they want to mandate that people have to register in order for them to use the software or the platform, and that means their registration additionally requires some type of identification or some way to track them, then that's the right they have. And if a majority of people don't feel that is something that they're comfortable with, like I said before, because of capitalism, another platform will open in which people will be able to voice their opinions. And I will say this much, Sim, that's part of the reason why you have Parler, or you have things like 8chan, 4chan, right? Because people want it to be anonymous.
That's the problem, though. You don't want violent people to be anonymous. That's what I'm not pro Big Brother. Maliki is saying in the chat that Sim's admitting, and I don't know, maybe he's saying it tongue in cheek, but I want to make it clear. I'm not pro Big Brother. I'm pro keeping track of where the crazies are. That's what I'm pro. I feel like everyone should show their face and be identifiable in Twitter, and yes, there are people who have accounts that are like parody accounts and stuff like that. That's all fun and good. You don't have to identify yourself on that level where you don't have to reveal your parody, the true person behind the parody account. What I'm saying is Twitter or whoever the platform provider is should know who it is, because if you can't just operate under anonymity all the time, and not everyone is going to be operating not everyone is sane, and they're going to be wanting the best for the world with their anonymous account. There's going to be people.
So what you're saying is that that personality does not have to be announced to the public, but in case that account has a problem, authorities should be able to contact Twitter, and Twitter should be able to identify who those individuals are.
Yeah, and I know what other people will say, like, oh, there's IP address logging and things like that, but those can all be circumvented through VPN.
VPNs, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you can be in China from America doing that if you want a VPN. I mean, it makes no difference. Yeah, absolutely.
So I have a question for you. I have a question for you. Yeah. So Parler right now, as an example, they're off Google Play and they're off Apple Store. I just checked. So
yes, I got it before you left. Yes.
Yeah, I got it too, right? But like they're like, what other phones are there?
There's none. There was a Windows.
No.
You gotta like create. So it's like you gotta create a new phone.
No. So what they're gonna do is this:
download stuff from an API from an unlisted marketplace, right?
Yeah.
So you have to authorize your Android phone to download unauthorized apps.
Okay.
So there's like you go under settings and I think it's like dev options or something like that, and you have to authorize. This is on Android phones. On Apple phones, I think you have to jailbreak it. Right, more
but all you could do essentially, if you have an Android, all you do is you go to the Parler website and you download, you log in, and you just create that homepage as an icon, a tile on your phone page, and you just click that tile, it'll open in a browser. You get what I'm saying? Like, you could just go. Yeah, I think on the Android you can do that, right? You can log in to a web browser, and then like the web page, you can make that default. You can make that web page a tile on your home on your home screen, right?
Yeah.
So you could do it that way. Yeah.
So in effect, guys, one of the most important things we need to understand from this wholesale banning and suspending of accounts is that it's setting a precedence. Today, it's conservative. Tomorrow, it'll be practicing Muslims, practicing Christians, Jewish people, anyone, the left or the people who are advocating or who are in control. These ideological people who are in control of Google, Facebook, Twitter, these people will make sure that dissent is silenced and that we're moving forward as a society. And anyone, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently called one of Jimmy Dore is one of these guys who's been really challenging her on Twitter and stuff. He's got this whole nother thing that he's been challenging her about. I don't want to get into it, but she called his words violence. And this is like a really big YouTuber who's got like, a lot of clout in that space. He's friends with Glenn Greenwald and Kyle Kulinski. He was a former Young Turk media person, but she in effect tried to silence him just by saying that his words are violence.
Yeah,
violent words, just to delegitimize whatever he's saying, because she didn't want to respond. He had like really well reasoned arguments, sound arguments that are really well thought out, but she didn't want to address them. Instead, she said he's being violent with his words.
What's funny is that here's what's kind of funny part I'm thinking about. I was chuckling right now is because Donald Trump was against net neutrality, and essentially net neutrality, it basically, for those of you that are not familiar with that, what that means is that all they can do is give you the internet, and you can decide how you want to use it, right? No internet service provider company or service provider can tell you what to do with your internet. So, for example, if you have it's like this, let's say you get water coming from your water company, right? Your water company can't tell you, hey, you can only take a shower with water at 70 degrees. Or if you want to take a shower at 80 degrees, we're going to charge you more money. Or if you want to use your water for washing dishes, we're going to charge you a different rate. Or if we're going to use your water for, filling a water gun, we're going to charge you a different rate. Essentially, what that means is that you wouldn't want anyone telling you how to use your water because you're already paying for the service coming out of your tap. Likewise, with the internet, you don't want anyone telling you what you can use your internet for. It's your internet. You're paying for it. But along with that also means that you're giving more power to providers, right? So it's funny how this is unfolding because Donald Trump is essentially supporting something that would effectively take away power from the consumer and give more power, more regulation to providers, like in this case, internet service providers, and maybe even certain platforms like Google, because Google is an internet service provider as well, right? They have their own service now. So it's funny how this is kind of biting him in the back anyways. You get what I'm saying, Sim?
Yeah. What's your thoughts on this whole idea of this whole stormed the Capitol thing that it was an act of terrorism. I thought the word terrorism, I know the legal definition, I know the FBI defines terrorism as, something that disturbs the public's peace and space and things like that. But in my mind, when I saw that, it did not come to me as an act of terrorism. Terrorism, in my mind, I know there's a legal definition for it. I completely accept that. I know people.
So wait, let me ask you this though: what would it need to be for terrorism what would have needed to happen for it to be terrorism for you?
I think it would had to have been an organized group, right? First of all, an organized, established group. Let's just say the IRA in Ireland, right?
Or the Muslim Brotherhood.
Muslim Brotherhood, maybe. Yeah, it's kind of loose stint, but.
Are you trying to get brownie points with the Saudis?
Hey, you almost, bro.
All right. I'm not going to use the Muslim Brotherhood as an example. I'm not going to fall into traps. This. Yeah. So, an organized group, right? And all the members of that organized group are behind this objective of creating violence and destruction, and they have planned an attack where you are causing the destruction of property or lives.
But what if it's an individual, though?
If it's an individual,
goes up and shoots up the place.
I don't think that's.
What if he doesn't even shoot anybody? You don't think an individual?
Wait. So wait. Hold on one thing, Amro. Let me just do this with him. Let me exercise with him. So was Timothy McVeigh a terrorist?
Oh, go ahead.
I think he was a domestic terrorist.
Wait.
Yeah.
Hold on. So let me tell you this. Let me tell you why I think now they're terrorists. Okay.
You're saying
first of all,
that right was a terrorist.
Wait. Let me give you an example.
This is what I'm trying to get at. Individuals in that, because I know there were people who brought in pipe bombs within.
I will clarify. Yeah, I will clarify this. Do I think every single person who entered the MAGA rally is a terrorist? No, but people who stormed the Capitol, I would define them as people that were part of a terrorist uprising. Yes, absolutely. Because if any other group, whether they had weapons or no weapons, whether they intended harm or no harm, if they wanted to storm the nation's capital with all of the legislative body in the middle of a meeting in order to disrupt the process, the democratic process of the American process or whatever the legal process, that with the sole intention of intimidating them and terrorizing them by sheer force, and to the point where they were actually, by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but they were actually pushing on police officers, pulling them out. They even dragged them out. Some of them beat them on the street, and they were all sitting there like toting it on, like no one's stopping it, right? You're part of the
officers who were letting them in as well.
And I would say you count them part of them. You aided a terrorist. You're aiding and abetting a terrorist if you do that. I mean, can you imagine what would have happened, Sim, if that guy who had a gun and he was at the chamber doors and he actually decided to fire the cop that let him through? Wait.
Anyone who brought in weapons or anything or was causing harm, physical violence. I'm just saying
breaking windows,
calling that entire group.
But weren't they behind? Weren't they aiding those people that have guns anyway?
Wait, Sim. Let me tell you something. Sim,
things that when all these loose-knit group of people are rioting, you can't call every one of them terrorists. Like for example, we just had the what's it called? The riots with the BLM people. What's that guy's name? I'm blanking.
Sean King?
No, man, the guy who died recently. The black
Floyd.
George Floyd. We had riots all over, and there were some people within those rioters who brought in bombs or who brought in some kind of weapons. They were marching with weapons and stuff like that. Those are, if you are calling those people terrorists, then those people are terrorists as well. And I'm
so can we do something real quick? Can we do? And I was talking about someone else. I kind of have it on thing. Let me show you something. I want to show you the difference between what happened with BLM and what happened when the Trump supporters came to the Capitol. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's take a look at that so we can understand why there's a huge difference here and like what we're talking about here, right? How they treated them differently. Let me just pull this clip up here very quickly. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. Let me share the screen here, and we'll pull this up. Share screen and the tab here. Okay, and share the audio, and let's do this right now. Okay. It should be available for everyone to see. Let me hit play.
Police are squabbling with protesters. Oh, there we go.
Look at them. They just let them in.
Hold on. So, wait, in response, in response to this, what happened here? They're saying that they were being overrun. Like they knew that they were going to start pushing through. They were telling them right now in that conversation, according to the Washington Police Department, they were saying that they were going to actually push through right then. So they were like, "Hey, we're going to come through. Either move out the way, we're going to come through." And they were overrun right there because we know that they did not provide adequate police. But I'm saying, watch the difference here. Watch. I don't blame them necessarily, but watch why they move away. Look at the difference in security versus now versus when BLM was in the Capitol. Watch this.
There we go.
Now look at this. The difference here is in BLM, on the outside of the Capitol Hill building, they have policemen on horses that are forcing a crowd away.
But it's the difference. Your BLM was already full in effect. They had plenty of time to prepare for BLM protests.
Bro, they've been calling for a MAGA rally for 2 weeks. They had a MAGA rally 2 weeks before that. They've been having so many.
Prepared is different from actually.
Bro. They've had violent encounters the last whole 2 months in Washington, D.C. They had MAGA rallies. I mean, Proud Boys were there. Boogaloo was there. They've had numerous incidents. This is not something they knew their violence was coming. They knew it. I mean, there was no doubt about that.
They were going to storm the Capitol.
I'm saying they knew they were going to come up to the Capitol Hill. They knew that they were rowdy.
Anyone understood that they were actually going to storm the Capitol building?
I think they did.
I'm saying, wait. I'm saying this. Do you think anyone thought that BLM was going to storm a Capitol building? Do you think they thought that BLM would actually run into the legislators' offices? I don't think they thought that either. But they knew. But just watch the video. Watch this. You'll see what I'm talking about in the end. Watch. That's BLM. They're able to get. This is the MAGA rally. They're able to get to the Capitol Hill steps and occupy the hell out of it. Okay. Look at the difference.
Don't shoot. Hands up. Don't shoot.
All they're saying is, look at this. They didn't even let them get on the stairs. They have armed National Guard sitting there.
Yeah.
They have National Guard just blocking the hell out of them. Look at that.
Don't shoot.
Yeah. Oh, hey, real quick, I want to.
But look, I'm not.
Dude, look at this thing. Dude, this looks like Venezuela, bro. Look at Bogota.
This is very important because when you define something as terrorism, and you say that, hey, anytime a group of protesters, then there's destruction of property or damage, so some people within those protests are committing violent acts, by saying that they're all terrorists, that is very problematic.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying those could be rioters. I'm saying the intention they had by marching into the Capitol and trying to sabotage the process, intimidate people who are trying to carry out a judicial process or a legislative process is an act of terrorism, because they tried to use force in order to persuade them and to try to put fear into them so they would not continue. They tried to literally delay. We had to delay the process until 8 p.m. the next day.
The protesters who did not storm the Capitol I think are fine, right? Once you entered a legislative house while the Congress is in session, I honestly believe they should, if anyone arrested, this 10-year law they're talking about, forget it. They should all be executed as enemies of the state.
They should have shot them right in the White House, right there. Right when they enter the door, shoot them in the head, point blank.
Like, this is betrayal of the state.
Can you imagine if me, you, and Sim walked up in that place and Sheikh Amr walked in there? We would be dead on the spot. I couldn't even make up the stairs. They would shoot me right in my fat head, right there. Boom, I'll be done. They wouldn't allow me to come in there. Dude, people were spraying mace at police officers. They were. Can you imagine you're taking a police officer's shield and then pushing him around with that? This is, if anything, honestly, this is an example of. Oh, wait. Okay. Yeah. Let me just continue the video so we can see. Okay. All right. I thought you wanted to continue watching, but no problem. You get the point, right? There's a big difference here between how BLM, and by the way, I'm not supporting BLM in this. I'm not saying BLM is right and they had the greatest intention behind going there. That's not my point. My point is that why is there a different treatment? We've known that Trump rallies have gotten violent. We've seen what happened in the University of Chicago. We've seen people get punched out at Trump rallies. We've seen violence erupt.
I want to know when there is a BLM march and there is destruction of the property, and there's destruction of police cars and everything. We saw what happened to the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
We saw the completed. Was that terrorism?
That's an act of terrorism.
So no. That's what we're talking about. See, here's the thing. Again, with BLM, that would be rioting. If they wanted to burn up a statue on the outside
They destroyed government property. Police.
Wait, hold on.
Police
Hold on.
can't be police anymore.
Wait, 1 second, dude. Outside, if they want to destroy and kick off and burn a tree outside on the White House lawn, whatever, fine, I wouldn't call them terrorists, right? I'm saying they're terrorists not for just destroying property. They were destroying property inside the Capitol Hill building with the intention of breaking through windows to go and storm the legislative body and to terrorize them and to intimidate them.
I mean,
That's why they broke stuff.
It's in there, right? They had to evacuate him through some tunnel.
Yeah, Mike Pence was freaking out.
Mike Pence is in that building, right? On top of the Senate, right?
So wait, guys. So what are we?
No, all I'm saying is that I'm saying let's just say the Mort's right on that, and that is terrorism in that respect, that you are not allowing the legislative branch to conduct its business, and the government is not able to perform in an orderly fashion. Now, how is that different from the BLM rioters and the destruction that they caused in major cities all across the country? How is that not terrorism?
Because there's, first of all, there's no Mike Pence or Pelosi or Schumer in a police car that they're burning down.
Yeah.
No, but
Right. I mean, this is after hours.
There's the status of those politicians that has to be recognized as why it's important. Like a random they burn a police car. There's no police officer in there. They just freaking burn it.
I think it's so.
No, wait. Let's give you the gravity of the situation, dude. The number 2 and number 3 person in charge in the entire country were in that building at the same time.
Yeah.
So what that means, if something would have happened to Trump, number 2 and 3 were gone. There was no one to challenge him. Vice President and Speaker of the House were both there, and all members of Congress. You ever seen a designated survivor? They had that's like the situation here. They had one person in a bunker in case the whole thing went down, because every legislative body was in there. They were voting on this issue. That you have to be there. You have to be present. This is a threat to national security, bro. You've got high-level legislators that are there and adjudicating on an issue. You're trying to intimidate them. You're trying to intimidate and not just intimidate them in terms of like. See, Sim, you're talking about shutting down a city and not impeding the normal business of things. Yes, that's a riot. Hold on. I'm talking about wait.
We understand the levels of government that were in that building at that time. But when you have rioters who are shutting down a city, they're surrounding police stations, and there's people in your city who need police services, and they can't get the help that they need. How is that not terrorism?
It's again, that would be a crime of rioting. I agree. It's not terrorism because again, they're not trying to intentionally start.
You're shutting down the entire police station of a major city by surrounding.
Yeah, but again, that's not terrorism though.
Burned it down
because they're not targeting that building.
What city was that?
No, I'm saying
you burned the entire police station. That's not terrorism.
You're talking about Seattle. Seattle had already decided to decommission the cops and move them out. They defunded them.
What's in Minnesota?
Seattle. It's Seattle.
So they had the whole the George Floyd thing.
Yeah, no, but it's Seattle, where they burned down the local precinct in Seattle in the autonomous zone, and they kicked it out. All I'm saying is this, dude, is that when you have police departments that are being defunded, this is entirely different. Police officers do not adjudicate. They do not have any power. They're simply there to keep the law.
Said on defending BLM. You should say,
no, it's not about BLM. I could care less. It's about
you should apply the same standards. Yes, if that's terrorism, then that should be terrorism as well.
Let me give you an example. If BLM walked in and did the same thing, I say shoot them in the goddamn head too. If they did that too, you shoot them in the head too. If they did that, it's not about BLM or not. It's about people going in and terrorizing the legislative body and trying to influence them to change our election. That's insurrection, buddy. You can't go in there.
I'm not arguing that.
That's what we're talking about.
No, I'm not. I'm saying what terrorism, not insurrection. I'm talking about what is defined as terrorism.
Bro, I'm saying you're changing the way you're changing the way a country handles itself. You are causing. Hold on. Listen, you're changing the way a country. Wait. No. Let me ask you something. Let me ask you this one question. Okay, let me ask you this one question. When the people stormed and were protested in Chicago and protested in Seattle and BLM, right? First of all, was their intention to go in there and stop people from getting medical care or stop the police officers from helping people? Was that their intention?
Their intention was
no. Their intention was to
all cops are bastards. That's what.
Listen, their intention was that we want.
They said police officers are horrible people, and
Hold
they
on.
were all over the place. They're surrounding these police stations from doing what they need to do.
So what they're doing is when police stations when they acknowledged the fact that there was injustice towards black people and minorities, when they acknowledged that issue, they worked hand in hand with police departments, and you see that throughout the nation when it happened. Right? In this particular case, they wanted no conversation. They wanted to go out there and say, "Listen, we are going to tell you who you should vote for. We're going to tell you who's going to be president." They were trying to force an opinion on somebody. Now, the police station, they were trying to find, they got frustrated with the fact that police were treating different people, minorities differently. And the ones that complied with them, they had no problem. They worked with them. There are many examples of police officers around the country that worked with BLM protesters. And mind you, also, many of the BLM protesters who are the people who are looting and stuff, we know they were people who were opportunists, right? They were anarchists. They were working with them. And there's so many videos of BLM people saying, "Stop, don't break the stuff. Don't break, it's not us." Inside here, you don't see that. This is a Trump, after the speech, they were charged up to say, "Listen, we're taking back our country." That's what they thought. They thought they were going to have a revolution.
So,
The legal definition of terrorism, what the FBI defines it as. Let me just.
That's what I was saying. I think we
that
have to define what terrorism is first.
Yeah, FBI
because there's many different
right here.
definitions of terrorism.
Here it is. Terrorism is defined in the code. Shoot, it just went away. The unlawful use of force and violence against persons or property to intimidate or coerce an outcome.
Thank you. So coerce an outcome. That's what they wanted, right?
But doesn't that's everything? Let's just say the Palestinian Intifada that counts as terrorism as well. When kids are throwing rocks at police and soldiers, when you had that kind of loose set of definitions, the authorities, people who want to selectively apply these laws, they'll do it in whatever way they want. So what I'm saying is that terrorism needs to be much more. It can't be as loose. Yeah. These definitions can't be.
That's what I'm saying. It's
so
subjective now. What terrorism is?
Yeah.
It's very subjective.
Look, if we're going to argue about the definition of terrorism, that's something entirely different. But I'm saying, even from my common understanding, these people who stormed the Capitol were terrorists. And if it was up to me, I mean, as a president, I would say I brand them as terrorists. You tried to use force in order to change the country and try to take back the country to your direction. You want to terrorize the legislative body, intimidate people by saying, "We have guns, we have the Proud Boys on our side, we have the ex-military on our side, we have the militias on our side, we're threatening violence. Don't take our guns, we have guns, we're going to come back and do this." They were threatening this all the time. Literally, you had people threatening this, coming up saying, "Listen, we have guns. The military is with us. We have watchmen, militias to activate." Let me tell you something. Let me give you an example. I'm part of a right-wing group, right? Let me tell you the message that I got right.
You're part of a wait.
No, what's that? A right-wing like a message group thing. I mean, I yeah. I mean, so I can see it. Hold on,
you know how that just sounded?
Oh yeah, no, but watch this. No, hold on. Let me read for you something I just got as a message in the thing. Hold on, watch this stuff. Okay, look at this. Millions of American militia will meet in Washington, D.C. on January 20, 2021 for the purpose of preventing any attempt by the treasonous domestic enemy Joe Biden or any other member of the communist organized crime organization known as the Democratic Party from entering the White House belonging to we the people. In the event that justice is miraculously served and our re-elected president, Donald J. Trump, has been sworn in, the president, the Capitol, and our national monument will be protected from the proven violent leftist insurgents who have declared war against the United States of America, and we've been conducting an active insurrection in the United States of America. And the thing is, 1 million militia march on January 20th. They're encouraging militias to come to the area of the ground in order to intimidate people, right? That, to me, this is an act of terrorism, bro. You're supporting terrorism when you allow this stuff, right? And so what I'm trying to tell you is that these people have this mentality that this is the war. This is 1776. This is the defining moment between us and the monarchy, right? They're using this hyperbole that we're in a civil war. That's what they think right now. And if you believe that, if you're trying to brand all of Americans who don't agree with you as terrorists and leftist insurgents, and you feel you're authorized to use weapons on them, you want to storm the Capitol to do that, you're a terrorist to me, dude. Bottom line.
Plus, we have to understand, bro, there's different levels of terrorism, right? And there's different levels of terrorizing people, individuals, and communities. And so I personally think, man, people that were destroying, like, look, police, they're an extension of authority, right? There were people who were storming police officers in their cars and their stations. Yeah, that's an act of terrorism, dude. Of course it is, right? So I think there's different levels, obviously, to terrorism. And I think it's very loosely, like you said, defined. I think, look, we have to have a solid definition to understand and to apply it to all these situations. But more, I do agree with you, man. If you're going to almost like on a level of like, they're not going to be able to pull off a coup, right? But
they wanted a coup.
Look,
going to the Capitol and having weapons and interfering with this with the legislative branch, and
anyway,
it's very problematic.
It's a thoughtful experiment. I mean, it's not necessarily something that I'm super passionate about. I was just wanting to make sure that people flesh out these ideas before they get super
emotional,
attached to some of them, because
I will agree with this much though. I will agree with this, Sim.
Yeah,
Sim, I will agree with this. That the general person that showed up there, at the worst, they were probably, if they didn't enter the Capitol building, at worst, they were rioters. At worst, right? Because they didn't enter the Capitol building, right? If they didn't have, and I'm not saying that you have to be essentially a person that has a person that has a group to be a terrorist. You could be a single terrorist too. You can have multiple single cell terrorists, whatever, and going on. But I'm saying people that just showed up to support the president and what they wanted to do was their party. I don't consider you a terrorist. You're just a regular protester, and you have the right to protest in America. That's your God-given right to do that here in this country, right? But if the minute you want to take it beyond that and you want to use force to get inside the Capitol and try to threaten people inside, that's when I think you move from a protester and a rioter to a terrorist, right? Because now you're trying to change a process here, right? If it was just breaking a window, like I'll tell you the difference here. Let's say you came to the protest and you were holding a big MAGA flag. You said Trump 24, Trump 20 beyond, Ivanka, Trump, blah, 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 everyone else, Trump, the whole dynasty, right? You're just a protester. If you walked off there and you were mad after the protest and you went to the local Dunkin' Donuts and you broke the window and said Trump 24, you're a rioter. But if you, after that rally, you went to the Capitol Hill building and you broke down the window and you had a gun pointed or you were trying to barge your way in the chambers, you're a terrorist. You understand what I'm saying? There's a difference here, right? There are three different types of people that could have been there. That's how I look at it.
All right. Well, at least you've thought it out a little bit. I still, have some disagreements with that same. I agree with you in that respect also, but I think that when you apply those definitions to the BLM movement, the people who surrounded police stations and stuff like that, those should be considered terrorists as well.
Right. So let me just decide the point. He says, yes, I just a point. There's people who didn't have a monolithic goal, leader, spokesperson, correct. Well, their leader is Donald J. Trump. Donald Jesus Trump to him, right? I mean, that's their leader, and they really don't want to please the leader, right? I'm not saying he told them to go out and do that, but what I'm saying though is that their goal was to intimidate people. Now, you don't have to necessarily have a group organization to be a terrorist. You can have multiple independent terrorists. For example, Timothy McVeigh was a terrorist by himself. He had an agenda. You can have isolated. I mean, I'm not saying Donald Trump. By the way, I'm not saying Donald Trump told them to do this stuff. I don't believe he went out there and told them to go attack the Capitol. I'm not going to make that leaping assertion and say he did that, right? But there are people who got so fired up by his message and by the rhetoric, even before this protest, that they took it upon themselves. They got so enraged that they decided to resort to that type of violence and intimidation. So individually, they were, as I would classify as terroristic behavior. Right? There are some people who just walked in there and they walked right out. They walked in the rotunda and they walked out. I don't consider them terrorists. They realized, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm walking out. You know what I mean? But that girl that got shot, she was jumping through a window while the service guy had his pistol out. He had it out for 5 minutes. Right? And she saw that and she still jumped through the window. Girl, you stupid? Like, are you dumb? I mean, and she's a veteran. Like, you've seen this firsthand. Like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, you have to start using common sense here. Let's just be, if any one of us in the chat went over there in the White House and did what they did, we would have been shot in a heartbeat as terrorists.
Yeah. Ustad Sajid, thank you for joining our chat. Much love.
Hayakallah, welcome.
Maliki, congratulations on your wedding. Next month, you're marrying a Bengali.
Oh, mashallah, tabarakallah, barakallahu lakum. Awesome. I'm so happy. Are we invited?
He wants some advice.
He wants to know, should I sleep with a knife under my pillow with the Bengali woman?
I told him as long as he likes the food, it's good. It's great. I don't like Bengali food.
Just keep the fish bones under the pillow.
Bengali food, so it's all good.
It tastes very fishy.
Yo,
Like that's all you guys eat though.
I mean, there's fish. I mean, there's borta. Borta's the other thing that the Bengalis are known for.
But that's like a soup, right?
It's
No,
like
I've had Bengali
mashed.
biryani before.
Oh, mashed. Okay.
It's like there's like
Mashed fish?
You can do fish mash, but it's also like vegetables usually.
Okay.
Bro,
It's like
I've
certain
had Bengali biryani before. It was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
We gotta try.
What?
Sometimes, you see, when
It tastes
I've
like
always
Indian
wanted
Pakistani
to go to
food, man.
Bangladesh, but like their language is different too. They look like
It's like Hindi.
you know
It's like
the
Hindi.
Sanskrit. It looks like the hanging monkeys that are hanging off branches. You know, these little
Y'all are
monkeys.
messed up, bro.
That-
You guys
that-
don't
that's
forget,
what- that's what-
Bengalis, we basically have the same culture.
Bro, their language looks like little hanging monkeys that are hanging off a
my
branch.
Lord. Now you guys sound like some Trump supporters.
I've never had like Bengali food.
I
Though.
don't mean
I've
any-
never had it in my life.
I mean, do you find that disrespectful to the Bengali community?
Dude,
That
Mine's not Bengali. Why are you asking him? He hates Bengali. Bengalis.
Yo, ask him what I think about Bengalis. Like asking Candace Owens what she thinks about black people. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
remember that time we were talking about? I was like, listen, I have a problem.
You gotta ask Tenzin. Tenzin knows more about because he's very patriotic about Bangladesh. He was like jerseys and stuff.
or
No,
can you
this
put
one.
up? Can you put the Bangladeshi alphabet up on your screen, please? Because I want to ask you guys.
Do you know how to read
People in
Okay,
the
hold on.
chat,
Not, I forgot.
this looks like the
It's
most
like Hindi, bro.
entertaining
It's like
language.
Hindi.
When you look at this language, you're like, man, this language looks so fun to learn.
Oh, Tom 6 at fight. You go to Bangladesh next month. That's what's up.
Why would you want to go to Bangladesh?
To get
In
married.
the middle of COVID, man, y'all crazy, bro. Oh, you're going to? Oh, wow, man. That's
There, we're in like no mask stuff too. I saw him like walking around the bazaar.
it's
Yeah.
like
They look
Chinese almost,
No,
or like
is it
no,
like
Tibetan, like
Hindi or
That's how
Hindi?
Hindi looks.
It looks like
Hindi
Sanskrit. Yeah, it looks like it's derived from.
oh,
Sanskrit.
I don't even know what that.
I'm
Look,
thinking
hold
their
on.
alphabet's like the rest of the Muslims.
Because we're not Muslims. I mean, no, I've been telling you, we're Khawarij. That's the root of this country
are
was from the
extremists.
Khawarij. And you know what? You know what the hadith about the Khawarij? The Prophet ﷺ says that when you see these individuals, you should like remove their lips from opposite ends.
Mashallah, mashallah, tabarakallah. He's dropping gems now.
Oh,
this dude about to
I'm
do
so
the
glad
job.
Bengali is saying that about his own people. Guys, don't come to me.
You can cancel him. Yeah, you can cancel him.
Your
Go
alphabet,
straight
okay?
to him,
That
bro.
guy, he.
But like, hey, he set me up. He was just like, hey, why don't you use Arabic? Aren't you guys Muslims? I'm like, of course not. Like,
they did rebel against Pakistan.
yeah, that's
Right?
what the Khawarij do.
That's
The
they did.
Islamic Republic of Pakistan. The
Oh,
Islamic
man.
Republic of Pakistan.
This is getting out of
True.
hand.
Speaking of like,
Y'all getting out of
speaking
hand.
of fake Muslims, I want to talk about this Qadianis real quick. I got you right.
I love this.
So,
I love the transition.
so, dude. All right. So,
People who don't know Qadianis are
Well, Qasim Rashid is.
they are a movement of Muslims, or sorry, people who branched out of Islam and they formed what is basically the equivalent of Nation of Islam for Desis, right? They have their own like prophet.
for daisies. Qadiani Nation is for daisies.
They're like British bootlickers. That's what they are.
So they have a fake prophet, and his name is Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, and he ended up dying on a toilet. That's the end of the story. And he was
The end.
originally very praised by a lot of Muslim scholars. He was great at debate. He debated a lot of missionaries and stuff, and he earned a lot of praise. And later on, he let that get to his head, and he thought himself as a holy man, a prophet,
Best
and
description I've heard.
and
No, but what's interesting about him dying on the toilet is that was one of his own challenges. He said, if I'm lying in a debate, one of us will die from this horrible diarrhea disease, and he ended up dying from this stuff. That was the most interesting part.
funny thing
By
about
the way,
thing is that they don't even, the Qadianis or Ahmadis, whatever you want to call them, they don't even dispute that story. It's like
well, they do actually. They say he didn't die technically in the toilet. They say he died because he had exhaustion from diarrhea, but he had a commode that went to his bed, and he died in his bed.
whatever.
But I don't know.
you know what I'm saying? So, like, anyway, so on my channel, Soldiers and Sneakers, I'm pretty much open with, I'll let anybody come on. And generally, I want to understand people, right? So, this Qadiani kid, I think he's in college. He messages me and he's like, long email, long message. Salaam alaikum, brother Maheen. I really enjoy your show. You seem to be very open-minded. I want to clear up some misconceptions. I'm from the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, etc. I'm already my blood's boiling. I'm like, first of all, you call me brother. You ain't my brother. You say you're Muslim. You ain't Muslim. So he sends me this huge note And I just replied, and I was thinking about, I was like, you know what? I could bring him on, and then I was maybe I can get like Sheikh Hamza Maqbool to like surprise him, like bring him in 10 minutes in. And I'm like, hey, you want to do this? I mean, like, you know, this dude up. And then he was like, you know, Sheikh Hamza was like, nah, I'm not in the mood these days, whatever. So I just replied, this dude's like, wa alaikum. Thank you for your message. I'm not interested, right? And I screenshotted it, put it on Twitter. And this Qadiani started showing up, like start out of nowhere on Twitter, hitting me up, like, hey, what's going on? This and that. I started trolling him back, like just asking, like, we have, brother, there's lots of questions. Maybe we could answer some questions for you. And I was like, I have a question. I'm like, what kind of toilet did this dude die on? Different pictures, like different squatter types, and like, it's like
was there a bidet attached to that?
No.
Look at this. So you know what people don't know? He
that dude.
But you know what? The thing is that people don't realize about him is that he was a opium addict, and all of his pictures he looks blazed. But they try to open his eyes up in his pictures by photoshopping, but he had a huge opium problem. So his eyes would always look like he's blazed all the time, or like they'd be closing up because he was always dozing off. So if you notice, that's the guy. He actually had problems with his eyesight because he'd always be dozing off with opium. But that's the guy. It says Ja al-Masih, meaning the Masih has come.
You tie your turban like that. Who does it like that?
It was like this the Indian Sikh way, I guess. I don't know what it was.
The Sikh even have some kind of neatness to their.
I think it was like something like Bombay style or something. They used to wear like, I don't know, something like the Indians used to wear it that way. I don't know, something like that. Anyways, but the point being is that
this though, because the purpose of my channel is like everyone. I don't think obviously this Qadiani kid is probably born in some Qadiani family. He probably is raised a certain way. And I'm generally like, okay, I have some sympathy for that. But for Qadianis, I don't have any sympathy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm like, I don't know. Like
I mean, look, man, there's some good ones, some bad ones, but most likely either they end up, they're going to be like Qadianis, or if they change, they're going to be like Nabil Qureshi. So, I mean, what do I care? You know what I mean? Like, they ain't going to change.
A lot of them, sadly, they just end up leaving religion altogether rather than conceding to Sunni Islam when they're finally defeated in an argument. They end up just saying, oh, you know what? Religion sucks. I'm going to become an ex-Muslim and to inform the world about how oppressive Islam and Muslims are to the world and how Islam stifles creativity and things, just nonsense like that is really what they end up doing.
What's annoying about them to me is that, like, so you have other groups that are like kuffar as well, like Ismailis and like Bohra is another one, but they're not in our face like trying to get attention.
Yeah.
They're just out there doing their kufr on the side and like we'll let you wallow in your kufr. But these Qadianis are up in your face, like trying to get attention, trying to be accepted. And in reality, they think we're disbelievers too. So, like, I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, they're like, no, and the crazy thing is they make like crazy things like associations. Like I remember Qasim Rashid, little weasel rat, was like he put a tweet out there. If you want to know someone is a terrorist, why don't you ask them if Ahmadis are Muslims? Right. So I was responding back. I'm like, well, if you want to know if someone's a Muslim or not, why don't you ask them, or a terrorist? Why don't you ask them if the Nation of Islam is Muslim? Right. And they don't like the Nation of Islam. They always debate with them all the time. Right. So the thing is that he couldn't respond to that. Obviously, they play selectivism. Like they want to make it sound like, oh, we are the Muslims that are moderate. And to a degree, they were some of the people that began who had early missions into foreign countries, right? So if you go to places like South Africa and, early America, Britain in the early times, they had sent people there with missionary objectives. So they built these little grassroots organizations, like interfaith things. So people automatically, like some of the oldest foundations over there, I think one of the first Qur'ans translated in England was from an Ahmadi guy, like from Arabic to English, right? I mean, so they have these things, like these little accolades that they do, and they try to tout those to make them seem more authentic. But the reality is that most of the Muslim world was not really focused on the West while they were, because they weren't accepted in the Muslim world. So they had to run out to the Western world, right? And they don't know what the hell is nothing. I mean, that's like telling a 10-year-old what Islam is. He's gonna believe you what you tell him, right? He doesn't know. I mean, ignorance is there. The same way with the Western world at the time, they were largely ignorant. There was no internet, no books, no scholars, no Muslims around. So they would believe whatever Islam was from the mouth of, from them. But anyways, don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. I don't ever want to have a conversation with them. I only bring on people who are anti and ex Ahmadis, like my boy. I brought him on. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, we talked about it. So
Hey, what's an ibadi?
I was going to tell Ahmed to elaborate on that. So because Oman's been in the news lately, so why don't you tell them? So why don't you tell some what the Ibadis are? Because they used to be the Khawarij at one point, when they left and they ran away, and then they started this new group.
That's all I know about them. I don't know too much about them. Like,
What about Bora?
Okay.
Bora,
So
Bora.
no, the Boris are Ismailis. They have a different. I don't know if they're Kafirs essentially, but they're kind of like Zaydis in a way.
Ismailis. They're a
are
branch of
Ismailis kafar by default?
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, I don't know too much about Boris because I know some of them, like personally, that they don't really follow that line of religion or whatever, and they just ended up hanging out with Sunnis, so they end up just being like Sunnis.
They're pretty like secular in general because they don't have all the Ismailis I knew in Toronto. Because I knew a lot. I had a lot of Ismaili friends in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
And they would have they had this thing on Friday night they'd go to, right? That's like they'd get dressed up. They're all South Asian. There's no other I don't remember anyone who's like Arab. That's alhamdulillah. Like our Arab brethren, man. At least they kept it 100. Those
Arab Ahmadis. What are you talking about in Palestine? Yeah, bro. What are you talking about, bro? Arab Ahmadis in Palestine.
I was talking about Abraham the mailman, and he was like, "You're telling me there's people that believe there's another prophet?" Like they're confused by it. Oh, you for real?
Yeah, there's Ahmadis in Palestine, bro. What are you talking about?
That's why the occupation's going on.
Astaghfirullah. But by the way, let me make a big difference. Let me make a big difference. There's a difference between Ismailis. I mean, they're both the Boris and the Ismailis are even the Zaydis. They're Ismaili, considered Ismaili because they're 50 imam. But when you say Ismaili, you mean Qadianis. They're different than the Boris and the Zaydis. So Boris are not exactly like the Qadianis. They have a different. I'm sorry, Aga Khanis. Right? They're different. You get what I'm saying? The Aga Khani had something completely different where they follow the Aga Khan, their line goes on from there and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And they had a weird thing. But the Boris have a very strict religion. Actually, the Bori movement came out of Yemen along with the Zaydis. So they went into the subcontinent, they brought it with them from the northern parts of Yemen. So there's a Bori community in South Saudi Arabia as well too, like in that region. So they're a little different. They're kind of like Zaydis in that sense. But the ones in the subcontinent, they have changed it just a slight bit different. They went very liberal for a while, but the last two imams that were there for them or whatever they are, they kind of made some huge reformation, back to their quote traditional. That's why you find the women wearing a certain kind of abaya or hijab or whatever, and they mandated all to have beards, and they made a whole different reformation thing based on the older text they had. But yeah, so people confuse that with the Aga Khanis.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Cool. Do we have anything else left? Shabab.
I had a honest question. I want yours and Mort's take on this. Come inauguration day, and after that, what do you think is going to happen as far as unrest?
It's time, sir.
Yeah,
it's time, sir. You got the insurrections.
Oh, put that on camera, dude.
No, I don't want to put out too much. There's kids watching it.
No, but it's a toy gun.
Is it a toy? Are you crazy out of your mind?
Bro, I was trying to make an excuse for you, and now you ruined it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I was actually cleaning it earlier. Anyways, no, but listen, and I'll talk. I'm serious. I wouldn't worry, dude. You guys have been worried about this whole. Yeah. I'm saying
it's gonna happen.
No, I'm saying people outside who are considering that this might happen, like something crazy might happen. You will find skirmishes on the 20th, but considering what happened in the Capitol now, I expect to see a full lockdown of the area. Joe Biden has announced that he's not going to do a march down, the traditional parade. It's just going to be the inauguration there because of COVID plus what happened. Yeah. I expect it to be a very, very calm and uneventful day, right? Meaning that you're going to have people that maybe have protests around, fine, no problem, but they're going to put strict lockdowns on the Capitol, right? That's what I think they're going to do because the same way that they were doing it when the BLM came down, things like that. I think they learned from that lesson, especially, and it'll be bipartisan. I believe Republicans will also say, "Hey, we're okay with that" because of what happened.
What about you, Sim? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, my whole thing, and I follow the principle of that as long as things are okay with the economy, people will be completely open to be subjugated in every way. As long as people have a roof over their head and food in their stomachs, they won't rebel against the government. And I think unless the economy takes a dive and people start losing their homes, who knows what happens? Maybe they just lift up moratoriums on the people's mortgages and rents, and people all of a sudden, are left homeless. Then that changes things, and then that's when people are, more inclined to destroy things and tear things up and cause problems for governments and stuff. So I think people are perfectly pacified as long as you give them the few things that they need to kind of kill time: food, water, shelter,
NFL playoffs,
some entertainment. Netflix just keep their rates low, around the $15 zone. They'll be fine. People are perfectly happy peeing away their whole life.
Peeing away
their whole life. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. By the way, guys, make sure you put some money in Bitcoin. It's going to be going up soon, guys. And my advice to you: do it at your own wish.
Morty, what's the best time? Because I know Bitcoin
now it just dropped.
It just drops right now. So at night, around what time do you think people should?
Well, I mean, I usually buy around 2 a.m., but right now is a good time. It's been dropped almost 15% this day, so it's gonna swing back. Yeah, I mean, it was at 40. No, I'm sorry, it dropped like 12%. It was about 42,000 earlier. Now it's at 35,000. So if you're gonna buy, I would buy now.
Yeah, check it out.
Right? Like, how does that work, by the way?
You buy a very, very small amount of. You don't buy the entire Bitcoin. You buy a fraction of a Bitcoin.
Right.
$1 to invest, right? So you get
because you're looking at percentages. Right. So what happens is it moves up a percentage. So if let's say it's $100 you put in, and if it went up let's say it went up like 10%, you're gonna make $10, right? You get what I'm saying? Like it works as a percentage. But the way it works is, just put it this way, I don't have time to explain the whole thing, Maheen, but I'll tell you the reason why it's important. Cryptocurrency has been proven now, with all the volatility, that cryptocurrency has proven to be something that's a great alternative to hedge against the American dollar compared to gold. Gold has a very limited supply, and even if you were to, if you look at the total metric tons mined from the beginning of history, we come in the neighborhood of something like $400 billion or something, 500. We don't have enough. And if you notice, the economy is trillions of dollars, right? So even if we sold every single gold coin and collected it and all smelted everything down into bullion, we wouldn't have anywhere near enough money to even like cover the state of California. I'm talking about the whole world, I'm saying. So you can't just, you know what I mean? Like we need something alternative to the fiat currency. And, cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, I don't know about altcoins. Don't bother. I don't bother with them, but they're proven to be an alternative that will help people, in terms of securing their finances and trading money and trading, just sending currency, transferring whatever back and forth, and also hedging against fiat currency. Okay. I think, there are people right now who are saying upward trend by 2030. I mean, there's all kinds of numbers. All the point is that it's going to go up. It might fluctuate every now and then, but it's a 5-year plan.
Group, so I'm gonna cop some tonight.
All right, guys, we're out of time for the evening. We're gonna go ahead and call it a night. We thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm going to be out of town next weekend, so hopefully we're going to do another roundtable on Wednesday. Think of some ideas. Tweet at us on Twitter at the Mad Mamluks, and always send in your suggestions. I can't keep track of every single guest suggestion, so email me guest suggestions on our Mad Mamluks info at themadmamluks.com. And that way I can at least keep track of some of your guest suggestions. And also, when you do send in guest suggestions, send in their contact information, how I can reach out to them. Because if you guys send it like, hey, bring so-and-so on, I don't know. I don't have time to look up their,
in the brief bio, we want to know who the hell they are, why they're important.
People will send us stuff, and I'm like, who is this person?
Oh, yeah, like, why do I want to?
Ridiculous. Like,
if they have a book, you have to include the PDF with it.
Can you guys get on Dave Chappelle? Like, be realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's nobody.
There's a chef that was recommending us invite Dave Chappelle. I'm like, come on, bro. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, Sheikh al-Hind. Why would you ask Amr to do that? Why did you do that, Amr?
It happen. Right?
All right. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.